dead.
Episode 9 rests on Alicent incorrectly believing Viserys' dying wish was for her son Aegon to succeed him as ruler. Every single thing that happens in that episode is a consequence of that misunderstanding on her part. So at some point, she gets to the small council meeting, and I mean, you can hear the urgency in Hightower's voice, right? Like, what are you going to do about Rhaenyra? Her father is dead. At this point, nobody knows Viserys is dead. They have not got that out to anybody. In fact, Alicent asked, I think, someone like her king's guard or someone on her staff, maybe I forget, but she was like, "Be tight-lipped about this. Nobody can know." So her and her dad has like this bit of a conflict. What are we gonna do about Rhaenyra? So she's conflicted about killing Rhaenyra, which is what Otto, that's his only option. And to be, I'm Team Rhaenyra, but Otto was right. She is direct competition. As you pointed out some episodes back, she is direct competition to Alicent's throne and everything Hightower wants, and he sees no other way to succeed without getting Rhaenyra out the way, and he's right.
I don't know if he would be merciful if she hadn't married Damon, because I think that's really who he focuses on too, because it's the two of them, and more so Damon, who would absolutely take all of them out. And even though the episode, everything that's being unpacked seems to rest on Alicent's misconception or she doesn't understand what Viserys was saying. At the same time, like, Hightower and all the men had been planning the whole time. I mean, even at the table, Alicent was like, wait, so you guys have been scheming already to put my son on the throne? So whether she had that false revelation or not, plans were already being made without her to put Aegon on the throne. And I think all the men had time to settle into the idea of, murdering Rhaenyra and all of her supporters from the get-go. Whereas for Alicent, she was hearing it for the first time. And, they're like, time is of the essence, Alicent. And it's like, y'all just literally introduced her to the idea and you won't even give her time to sit on it. So it was interesting, that whole council meeting.
How you just phrased that. All the men had already had their mind made up, and then maybe on the back end introduced her to it. That's reminiscent of this idea of the man is the head, he's supposed to lead. He may involve you in some things to give you the idea that you've got some type of say. Remind you, she is the queen. Why shouldn't her word reign and stand on its own? But again, it's just reminiscent of a man at the end still saying, okay, yes, you're my helpmeet. You can be my assistant.
The
God,
pawn.
right? God created you as my helpmeet, but my decision is final. Like, she is literally in a higher position than he is, but like you just pointed out, she still doesn't have any real power. But not everybody, maybe I guess the state heads up at the table were more or less in agreement with Hightower. But I can't think of his name, but the Lord Commander of the King's Army, he was just like, nah, I know who I gave my oath to, and I'm bowing out. Y'all can have this BS. And he bounced, he took that oath to Viserys and Rhaenyra, and he was going to uphold that. Another statesman, the one that Christian, I don't know if he meant to kill the man. I don't think so, but he was absolutely unnecessarily forceful with him. And the man died by, I guess a blow to his head. That should have probably foreshadowed for us out the gate, like, stuff was just getting ready to go left, period, right?
Yeah. So
So
Kristen, I think it just always just speaks to his recklessness, like his, and it just all boils down to rejection and male fragility, right? Like he was rejected by not even really rejected, but he took it as rejection. And now his entire manhood going forward is just like insecurity, toxic masculinity, like violent. I mean, he is obviously a knight, but like he wasn't this wild before his heart was broken.
just before we see Alicent's and Otto's men out searching for Aegon, because again, they've told this secret to no one. So they're really trying to locate Aegon, round his ass up so they can have his daggone inauguration. But before they do that, They spend their time, the Hightower spend their time going throughout King's Landing, attempting to convince people that they need to bend the knee.
And there was one
Hightower,
woman, I want to point out the one woman, she didn't pledge her loyalty. She was, I don't know what house she was from, but among all the other men, you know, being the only woman and the first and only one to verbally say, yeah, we're not doing that. Well, no, actually, there was a guy who
exactly
said it
right.
before her, but as the only woman, she did the right thing, although she probably died.
Yeah, so now we're in the streets. Alicent's men and Otto's men are out looking for Aegon. They land in this place. I don't even know what it's called. I'm gonna call it the child fighting rink, like a skating rink, but it was
Was it
kids in there
MMA
fighting.
for a kid?
Girl, oh my goodness. Like what in the entire child abuse is going on in here? And was it Kristen? No, it wasn't Kristen. Somebody made the comment that they sharpen their teeth and leave their nails long or something, just for the solely for the purpose of fighting each other. I don't know what's going on,
It's a mess.
but
That was rough.
it is terrible. And then somebody make the slick comment that half these kids may be Aegon's, or there's
Mm-hmm.
this run, and
Yeah,
I'm
because there
looking
was
around
at
like, are
least,
you
yep,
serious?
there was at least one little blonde boy just looking lost in the corner. It was
Right. So he's just
wild.
running around irresponsible with his peen. So creating little poverty babies. So they're still out looking for him. And eventually they locate this lady named the White Worm. Now, is it me? Or was that the same? What do you call that lady? Mysterio? Was that
Mhm.
lady looked very similar to Damon's whore,
Yeah,
as I thought would say. Was that her?
yeah, Miss Syria. She's also a professional snitch, but she's just got a little bit more grace with it than Mouse. I don't know his real name, but I just call him Mouse because he's like everywhere. Yeah, she knows what's going on around the common people, and a little bit what's going on in royalty news. But yeah, that was her. It looked like she's elevated, and I don't know if there is a rank, but you know, she's head queen of the little circle of snitches outside the kingdom.
She definitely seems to be a social justice warrior of her time, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because in exchange for that money, she was like, you know what? I want the fighting to end. I want this den to be closed permanently, shut down, and that's that. So I at least appreciate her for being an advocate for the children.
And I think it happened. Wasn't that the building that burned down? Because it was just like a random building that burned down in an episode, not the episode. It was like around the time, like right before one of the knights was helping Rhaenys escape. But there was
Oh,
like,
I definitely remember the scene.
yeah. And I was like, why does that matter? Like, I was, for the life of me, I was trying to figure out, why do we just see this random building on fire at night? And I'm guessing.
My first thought was that's where Rhaenys was gonna be. Because remember, the guard was like, "I have to get you out of here immediately." And we knew either way that she did need to go, but he just. My first thought was whatever was gonna happen soon, and it was gonna be bad. So when I saw the fire, I thought that was the room where he had just rescued her from. At some point, Aemon and Kristen find Aegon, but they have to fight Otto's men to retrieve him. Because Otto's men were the ones who found him. They found him at that place where Alicent, I'm going to call it the altar, where Balerion, the big dragon head, is.
Mhm.
So they found him hiding under that, kicking and screaming. Like he's the most awkward. I almost call him a little boy, but he is so weird. Kristen ends up fighting off Otto's men. Aegon runs off, but he runs right into the arms of Aemon. And you can just see as Aemon is wrestling him, you could just see the disgust on Aemon's face, right? As he's holding his brother. He knows his brother is not equipped to take the throne. And on top of that, which makes matters worse, his brother really didn't even want it. You could just see that vitriol, that disgust on Aemon's face. He's like, you don't even deserve this. At one point, I honestly thought he was going to kill him,
Didn't he
but
pull out? I thought he pulled out one of his little daggers, and I mean, I don't think he was gonna kill him in that moment, but also, so Kristen came in like right as
mhm.
what's his name? Aegon was trying to plead with him to escape, and it was like Aemon was thinking about it a little bit, but yeah, it is. Yeah, he was. It's just like, I'm sitting here, I'm studying philosophy, I'm studying everything, I'm doing everything that my brother should be doing, and he doesn't even want it. I can only imagine what that must feel like.
In a lot of ways, I can see the parallels between these brothers and
Mhm.
Damon and Viserys, particularly the way Damon viewed the throne and Viserys being on it, So
That's
that may
funny.
be
That is funny you say that, because I felt that in the last episode. Remember, they had like an agreement at the dinner table for like 2 minutes and then they were back to fighting. I think it was Aemon and one of Rhaenyra's boys, maybe her oldest son. So when Daemon stepped in to break up the fight, like if you want to go back and look, Daemon kind of chuckled. I think he sees himself in Aemon. Like he was almost, I don't want to say proud, because he doesn't.
I agree.
But it was like, it was that moment where it's like, he's kind of like me. I understand Aemon, but I just feel like Aegon is, even though it's a similar situation as Viserys is far more graceful than accepting the fact that, I gotta be king. I'd rather do something else, but I'll do it.
We get back to Alicent. Her and Larys has linked up. And of course, Larys asks Alicent if she knows how Otto found Aegon first. He says that there are vast networks of spies around the Red Keep. But that scene quickly took a little kink turn. It
How
definitely
the
took
hell
a
did they
little,
get to that agreement?
oh, okay. But I guess sis said she'd leverage whatever she got to. She'll do what she got to do to keep information coming. And I guess just showing some feet. Yeah, I guess that's a small price to pay for her. But apparently Larys has a foot fetish. My question though, who was that snuck Rhaenys out of the Red Keep? That was one of the brothers you were talking. No, because that was the Otto's man.
Yeah, it was. Because remember, I don't know which one Sir Kristen was fighting, because they both look alike. I don't know if they're supposed to be twins, but they look alike.
Right.
One of them is Eric, and I didn't catch the other one's name. I don't know who Sir Kristen was fighting during the time they were capturing Aegon, but the other brother was looking down at the fight, and instead of joining to help his brother, he walked away. So I think that's the brother that went to grab Rhaenys and get her out of there. But I don't know like what he thought. I think he was gonna put her on a boat, but I'm like, I don't know the motivation. I don't know what the overall plan was or what changed his mind. Like, why did he go from supporting Hightower to this?
And that's where the gap in my understanding came in. So yeah, but I did peep that vibe in that scene you're talking about, where Kristen has one of the brothers and he's just up there looking. Wait, and his brother even yelled, "Help me out" or
Yep,
something.
yep,
'Cause I
yep,
remember, and I was like, "That's odd."
yep.
So yeah, Allison and Aegon are in the horse and carriage. She's excited that she's finally got him back, so they can go ahead and finish up his inauguration. He explains to her, "Mom, Dad had 20 years to name me heir and he didn't do it. And you really think this is what he meant?" Like he's pulling her card and he's absolutely right. And then she opens up this box that has Aegon's own knife in it, the same knife that Arya used to kill the Night King. And she almost uses it as a bit of a bribe. And strangely enough, I don't remember anything throughout the episode that even insinuated that he cared about it. Am I missing something? Because he lit up when he got it.
He did.
It was a strengthening.
I share that same sentiment. I don't know why he cared about it, but I thought about how when a king passes the throne to whoever's going to be next, the heir, that person has to share the story that's on that knife or dagger or whatever. Is it a sword? Was it a sword? I don't know. That isn't that the one that has the story on it when you light it up to the fire?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
thought
he
so.
doesn't even know. Allison doesn't know the stories on there. So there's like a tradition broken there. I don't know, how it would matter. But I was just thinking, you guys are just passing this knife along, and there's a whole important story on there that's not even getting passed to this kid who originally didn't want it. Yeah, he lit up when he was finally named king. Like all of a sudden he had a moment where he's like, yeah, I am king. Interesting
Mhm.
little boy.
In the meantime, Otto, he's using the army to round people up, all of the citizens, everybody in town.
Can you imagine, like, you woke up and you just wanted to go grocery shopping, and now you're being scooped up and forced to go to Congress to like watch this thing that doesn't improve your life anyway? Like, I was just thinking all those people probably just woke up and were on their way to get some coffee, and now they're getting pushed down the street to attend this thing.
So yeah, they're just pushing all these people through the streets. Rhaenys is one of them. She's actually trying to get out of there, but she's not successful. So eventually, all the townspeople, and I mean buku of them, they did a very good job of really making us understand the enormousness the way they built that, the building is huge, very, very high, tall ceilings, big tall columns on the outside, and it's like this circular venue. And I mean, it's just so many people in there packed like sardines.
Mhm.
I love the scene where Aegon walks down in between the king's guards. I call everybody a king's guard. I'm pretty sure these men are just soldiers, so I'm gonna say that. So he walks down through the tunnel of the soldiers, and as he passes by, you can hear the clash of the swords as they swipe down. I just the pomp and circumstance, girl. I'm a sucker for it.
No, it was good.
So
And, with my military background, I was like, even though they weren't as sharp as today's military, the gestures, like, where they would drop their swords really sharply as he was walking by. And the whole time I was just like, Aegon is not fit for this procession. Like, he's not even walking with authority and confidence and swag the way I would imagine Aemon to walk through that line.
he makes his way to the stage. Like you said, at some point, he does throw the sword up in the air. He's finally hit him. He's absorbing all of this, and then boom, like a wrecking ball. I just see concrete flying everywhere, people getting pummeled by each other, obviously by some of the debris. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And in comes Rhaenys on her dragon. And I mean, she cleared the room. Apparently, she snuck out of the building.
Even when she was talking to Allison, that's when I learned that it wasn't just her that they were holding hostage. Her dragon was held hostage in the little dragon basement or whatever. And she didn't want to leave without her dragon. I think that's what the conversation she was having with the knight before they got separated in the crowd. But when I saw her snuck off, I had her in the back of my mind, but I absolutely did not anticipate that scene at all. I was just like, what? And it was
Same
just
here.
so like a perfect storm, because if you think about just the very first episode of, House of the Dragon, we were in this exact same Colosseum where she had been robbed of the throne and it was given to her cousin Viserys. So
Girl, that
full
same
circle.
venue.
Yeah, full
Oh,
circle. Before she escaped, she's watching it. And so if you can think about her feelings, like this is deja vu, even though it's not about her and it's about Rhaenyra, it's about a man usurping power, or people usurping power from a woman and giving it to a man. And I just feel like I was trying to read her emotions when she was watching the procession go by. Like, just, I couldn't read her face. Sometimes she looked like she was a little bit smirking, but then I was like, what is she thinking? But
if
I knew
content
exactly what
is
she's thinking when she busted with that dragon.
right, she had this look on her face like, oh, okay, bitch, I see you. That's how I read one of those facial expressions.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
Because because like you said, is that smirk, that grin, because it's like, oh, I understand now, I get it now. This is why you were, like you said, you held my damn dragon captive. I couldn't get out of my room, it was locked, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Even though Allison tried to offer her some type of, not truce, but didn't she ask Rhaenys to join her side some way somehow when she talked to her,
Yeah,
if I'm not
she
mistaken?
did same thing that Rhaenyra did, but the offer that Allison had was not suffice, because Rhaenys had to remind her, like, at the end of the day, you're the queen. Like, you're the most powerful person in this equation, and yet you're a pawn. She's like, have you ever decided that maybe you should be on the throne? And then, of course, that got under Allison's skin. And then she was like, just ring me when you made a decision, kept her locked up, which is just in and of itself. I was like, this is rude. You're holding her captive. But that scene was everything.
But yeah, so she comes in on a daggone dragon. She gets up close, and the thing is, they don't even act like they're really leading us on this whole way. Because when they do get close, the dragon revs back, and then just how they drive their face forward when they get ready to blow the fire. They did all of that, but it was just obviously hot dragon breath. But it scares the shit out of Aegon.
That was a
Damon,
power move. That was
yep,
definitely a power
absolutely.
move to let them know. Because as beast mode as Aemon is, there's nothing he could do. He didn't have his dragon in that moment. And I think it
Exactly
was to
right.
let them know at this moment, I could just blow all of y'all. Like, to smithereens.
Exactly right. And that's why I said even Eamon, he twitched a little bit. Like you can
Yep.
see a little bit of fear in here
Probably
in
peed a
him
little
too.
bit in his pants for the
Mm-hmm.
first time
And
ever,
then
because he's probably never felt fear since losing an eye.
peep the scene, everybody. Even though she was afraid, the only person that stepped forward was a woman. Now, call it motherly instincts. If that's the case, fine. All I'm trying to say is, of course, Allison in that moment, even though she knew it would have been absolutely nothing she could do about that, she still found that strength. Again, the only one moved out of everybody on that platform. She still found that strength to get in front of her son. And it's just like, yeah, you can kill me. Wouldn't be shit I could do about it. But I'm gonna face you. I'm gonna step forward to show you, whatever.
Yeah. And
But
it's kind of like, you know, how you pointed out the cowardliness of Hightower during an episode in something that had to do with Damon, and Hightower got like really scared and was like, take his sword or something crazy. Same concept. He's telling them to keep the door open so that they could leave. He's always trying to leave like a little bitch. But his daughter has bigger balls than he does. Like you said, even though she would have died, ain't nothing she could do between the dragon and her son. Like you said, she was the only one that at least like put herself in the forefront, whereas Hightower just kept trying. He's always trying to leave the situation.
of course, they have to leave us mesmerized, but at the same time disappointed. That was all she did with her dragon. Like she came in there showing for us. We just knew what was gonna happen, and then wah 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 wah, nothing. But let me tell you who would have handled business: Daenerys. Had Daenerys been up there, this would have been the end. We wouldn't have no series to watch. Hell, that writers would have to rewrite it around the greens because Daenerys would have carried that whole damn thing, and it'd have been over with. But
Yeah, I think if it were Rhaenyra, yes, but it's a different situation in Rhaenys's case, because then she'd have to explain why she killed all those people. And she's a woman, she doesn't have like the most power. Whereas I think if it were Rhaenyra on the dragon and, had the ability to just take she would just took him out because they're fighting for her throne. I just think it was a really good power move. It definitely would have shut the situation down, but she flew off. She's going to snitch and tell Rhaenyra, and they're going to have something to deal with.
where I'm from, Rhaenys, word to the wise, sweetie, you don't never pull that thing out unless you plan to use it, because you
Yep.
definitely done put a target on your back.
Yep.
So that was my point. But that has been our recap of this week's episode. We are still enjoying it. I'm loving what I'm seeing, and we'll just catch you guys next week.
Bye.